Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm playing some more Total War Warhammer. We're taking a look at a replay of an online battle between myself and the Empire. So we'll get right to the builds. I've got a Gobbo force, as you can see from the number of units on the field here, so definitely going to have a fun time. I don't do the all Gobbo thing very often, but occasionally it's fun to just mix things up, you know, throw a little variety in there. So got a front line of Night Goblins with the two Regiment of Renown, the Warlord's Boys, and the 8-Peak Loonies. The other Night Goblins have 3 Silver Chevrons, just to give them a bit better leadership and combat stats. We've also got 1 Nasty Skulker on each flank with 3 Bronze ranks. And also on the flanks are 1 Goblin Forest Goblin Spider Riders, sorry, and a Squig Herd in the mirror on this flank as well. We've got 1 Night Goblin Archer, the Rusty Errors, 2 regular goblins, Skarsnik, who with all his abilities, and a Night Goblin Shaman, who is carrying, I believe, Itchy Nuisance and Gorkle Fix-It, as well as Madcap Mushrooms and Sneaky Stealin'. I think he also has Sneaky Stabbin' as well, so you can see my opponent's got his team tank here. He's teeing off against my forces. He's got a main line of swordsmen, 4 regular Empire swordsmen, with a couple spears on each flank and a few crossbowmen. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crossbowmen. Got Karl Franz on Deathclaw, as well as an Amber Wizard on a Pegasus. Interesting choice. Looks like he's got Flock of Doom and the ability to summon a Manticore with the transformation of Kadan. So you can see we're already started the skirmish phase here. I've got my, I might have failed to mention this, the Hammer of Gork here, the Regiment of Renown Rock Lava. It's getting some shots here on the steam tank, as well as the Wolf Riders. I've got 1 unit of regular Wolf Rider Archers, as well as the Mangy Marauders. So they're getting in here, doing some good skirmish fire. I was trying to not take too much damage, though. So they are going to do a little bit, not a whole lot, but we'll go ahead and fast forward, as my opponent is fairly content to just sit on this hill. Which, you know, not disparaging him for that, but, I mean, I guess you guys will see how it turns out for him. So, just advancing my forces. You can see I'm just running around trying to just use the steam tank, or rather use these to distract the steam tank and just kind of waste its shots at not shooting anything important. You can see I've switched the Goblobber over to, or excuse me, the Goblin Rock Lobber over to these swordsmen. We're going to start doing some damage in the frontline fight, and the goblins are coming in. As you can see, we've got the charge going, just about ready to connect, and yep, so fast forward just a little bit more. You can see quite a bit of fire coming in from my opponent, but this unit of swordsmen is already pretty much gone from that Hammer of Gork, and Karl Franz is going to charge in here and try and goon some of my guys, but Skarsnik's going to get in here, and Skarsnik is no slouch in melee combat, especially against a big lord like this. He's got armor-piercing, anti-large. As you guys can see, he's taking a ton of damage, but he's dishing it out. I mean, Karl Franz is not a pushover, and I mean, he's just wrecking him right now. So you can see Itchy Nuisance going down on this flank. Goblins are getting in here. They're doing some nasty shanking. Probably smell really bad. And yeah, just getting through these Empire forces, just trying to work through things. The goblins are penetrating into the back lines as far as possible, trying to get on these crossbowmen, keep them from firing. And we are getting some squigs and some spider riders up around the flanks. And I think I might have missed it. I think my unit, did he have some demigryphs? Might have missed it. You can see he summoned up a Manticore here. It's charging the front line. Did some good terror damage, but Karl Franz is pretty much gone at this point, having been bested by Skarsnik. So shameful display for him. You can see this Amber Wizard is here taking out the Hammer of Gork. It's used most of its ammunition already, though, so probably not the best. Getting some fanatics going through here. The dudes with the dwarves tied up. Oh, that's great. I just love goblins thematically. They're so funny. They're just greenskins in general. They're really the comic relief of Warhammer, truly. So you can see just tons of fire coming in, taking down that Manticore. It was degenerating on its own. We just wanted to speed its passing so we wouldn't have so many terror issues. Over here, this warrior priest is trying to hold things together, but another Itchy Nuisance coming down, and you can see the Empire force is just completely surrounded. And, you know, that's what will often happen if you deploy in a very blocky formation like that, especially whereas I had a huge army with just way more units than his. I was able to effectively surround him and get into his back line, and this just, you know, you definitely want to try and spread out your forces as much as possible. So this steam tank's barely alive still, taking quite a bit of fire. Looks like it's about to go down. The rusty arrows are doing some great work. And we are going to bring in some squigs just to try and finish it off. And you can see I'm losing a little bit here in the center, but the goblins, man, they'll just keep coming back. And pretty much all he's got at this point is a few tattered swordsmen, a few tattered spearmen, and some crossbowmen. And most of this is tied down over here, so the steam tank looks like it blew up over here to the squigs, and just getting things going, trying to finish off the Empire forces now. And yeah, just goblins everywhere, just absolutely everywhere. Franz did decide to come back with his very small amount of HP that he had, but Skarsnik is having none of that. And Gobbo bites Deathclaw right in the neck. Good stuff. And with the death of their emperor, the Empire forces cannot hold. So definitely a fun battle. You know, not necessarily super competitive build from either of us, although I would say this goblin build is potentially very dangerous. For my opponent, I would say these swordsmen, you know, they're okay, but you probably want to bring flagellants if you have the DLC, or at least, you know, maybe a light wizard instead of this amber wizard, and then bring handgunners or something other. I mean, those crossbowmen didn't do a whole lot, so if you look, most of his forces, I mean, the steam tank did a lot of work, but 92 kills against goblins is, you know, not super hard to do. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. We're going to take out another one, take a look at another one real quick. If I can find it here. There it is. Alright, so this next one's going to be between myself playing as the Warriors of Chaos and Pink is Z, I believe, hopefully I'm saying that right, as the Empire. And you can see from the builds, it's going to be a great time. My opponent's got 3 Great Swords, Demigryph Knights, Royal Altdorf Griffites, 4 Spearmen, 2 Free Company Militia, the Sigmar Sons, and the Tattersouls, as well as a Lore of Life Spellcaster, and Boris the Todbringer. On my side, I've brought my typical Big Bird build that you guys know and love. You may have seen it on Heir of Carthage's channel or on Turin's channel. I've sent a few replays just because this build is a lot of fun to watch, in my opinion. Might be a little biased, but oh man, once those Regiments of Renown come out, the ones with the Guardian trait, basically they give like a physical resistance to any nearby heroes. Big Bird's already fairly tanky with his magic resistance and his missile resistance, so if you stack that physical resistance on top of that, he's going to be really hard to kill. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out with that Guardian ability, you know, what the effect range is and so on. I'm definitely excited to see how those Regiments of Renown play out, how they affect, you know, the meta of the game and what kind of builds you want to bring. It's very exciting in my opinion. So you can see from my opponent's deployment, he's back here, content to camp on this side. That's fine. He does have ranged advantage for the most part, so I'm fine to approach. Don't mind taking a face full of bullets with Big Bird. So you can see my opponent's coming over here, just doing a bit of scouting, maybe trying to get me to make a mistake, or, you know, just looking for hidden units, maybe. Now, we've got these Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, one of my favorite units to bring against the Empire. They're leading away these handgunners, so they're not able to effectively fire as my forces approach. And you can see we're lining up now, getting ready to charge, and my opponent's forces now getting an attack order. We're getting attack orders across the line as well, so we're going to be charging in here. And a beautiful sight as these two front lines clash together. And there we go, the counter charge. Getting some angry flagellants mixed in with the great swords. That'll be a pretty good trade. The Chaos Marauders will lose to flagellants, definitely, and aspiring champions are, I mean, they'll get beat by great swords for sure, but you can see the chariots are coming in for support, each one coming down the line, transmutation of lead being dropped in the center, and pun intended, chaos ensues. My opponent's also having to deal with these Marauder Horsemen just continuously in the back line. We're lining up these guys on the flank to get a charge. Over on this flank, the Royal Altdorf Griffites are getting bogged down by Forsaken. We're hitting them with an overcasted Plague of Rust, so they're down to 65 armor, and they'll be taking a ton of damage from these Forsaken. Definitely trading very ineffectively. So you can see here in the center, the Flagellants did break the Chaos Marauders, but the Aspiring Champions are holding for now. They do have 62 melee defense. That's fairly serious. Boris, though, has gotten into their rear and will most likely be routing them. Over here, the Sarthorael has gotten his paws on the Jade Wizard, doing quite a bit of damage here, trying to take out the healing of the Empire. So Boris is going to respond, and Sarthorael is going to have to hightail it out of there. I'm using these hounds to screen, as well as some of these Chaos Marauders, so they're going to get in here and you know, help screen out Boris Todbringer and help spring Sarthorael free. You can see the chariots just continuing to ravage in the back line. These Demigryph Knights getting a nice charge in here on these Forsaken. We'll give you a nice slow-mo shot of that as they get lanced down by these beautiful, just gorgeous Demigryph Knights. One of my favorite models in the game for sure. They're beautiful. Just sending these Forsaken absolutely flying. So yeah, it's a good charge. They're definitely going to do quite a bit of damage, but it's looking to be too little too late as the balance of power is already starting to tilt in my favor. My opponent's forces are getting whittled down fairly quickly. And although he will generally win the infantry fight, with the chariots here, they're going to do a ton of damage. And you can see now Boris is getting attacked by Big Bird. He's in here. He's confident of his ability with all this, you know, friendly support nearby. Doing quite a bit of damage to Boris, and despite Boris's healing, he's down to about 60% HP, so definitely wants to try and get out of there. The Royal Altdorf Griffites are coming in for another charge, having survived their encounter with those Forsaken on the far side. They're going to try and get in here and hopefully cause a terror rout, maybe get rid of some of these units here in the center pocket. Just reforming the chariots now for another charge, trying to just target down these high-value units like the Great Swords, keep them from being able to do too much. So you can see a lot of my opponent's force is broken and shattered at this point, and he's going to bring in Boris, but this is definitely not a good idea. Sarthorael's going to turn around and start putting a beating on him. We've got another Overcast Plague of Rust, bringing Boris down to 25 armor. Only 25 armor. So Sarthorael, all of his damage is going to be going through for the most part, as well as all these Forsaken, and you can see despite Boris's healing and his defensive stats, he's taking an absolute thrashing here, and actually routs and shatters. And at that, the rest of the Empire forces are going to chain rout. So, fun game. Definitely a great game to my opponent. It's really hard to deal with this Big Bird build. I'm sure somebody could come up with it. I mean, I'm not the best player, but it's definitely fun to watch. And, you know, it's just so much for Empire to deal with. So, generally a good build overall. You almost have to bring a Light Wizard as the Empire, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you bring a Jade Wizard, a Light Wizard, or both? Because the Nets of Amantok, for me at least, are critical most of the time to the Empire's success, especially against factions like Chaos. Of course, with this build, there's not really any great targets to shoot at, and with the Nets, I mean, the army is wide enough that, you know, not too many units can be netted down all at the same time, so at least that's kind of the idea. So Sarthorael took quite a bit of damage there. The Marauders didn't do much, but I mean, you don't really expect them to. Aspiring Champions, you know, they're mostly just there for support. The Forsaken is where, you know, some good killing power is. These two got over 100 kills and a rank for this one. And some good kills on the Chaos Chariots as well. That came against mostly Great Swords and other high-value units. And, you know, the Marauder Horsemen and the Hounds just doing their jobs, kind of being auxiliary support for my opponent. The Royal Altdorf Griffites, you know, they weren't super cost-effective in the end. They did survive for quite a long time due to the healing of the Jade Wizard. However, being on that flank and getting torn up by those Forsaken was not where they wanted to be. And the Great Swords did okay in the center, but again, just smashed up by the Chariots, and the rest of the units didn't do a whole lot. These Sigmar Sons did pretty well, but mostly they were just killing Marauders. So, all things considered, good game to my opponent. Definitely enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed this double cast. It's the first time doing a double cast, but I've got quite a few replays to work through before Norska releases on Tuesday, so you guys may be seeing a little more content than usual coming out as I try and post all these replays. So if you enjoyed, like the video and subscribe. Hope to see you next time, and yeah, have a good one.